Hey everybody, welcome to the Fixed on Jesus podcast. My name is Rich. Joining me, as always, is Mark Johnson Jr. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing well. How about you?
All right. Behind the glass, actually behind the camera now, is Heather Corbett. We need to remedy the whole behind the camera thing. We need her in front of the camera. But Heather...
Do we, though?
I think we do. And that's really rude right there, Mark. Typically, we say our Fixed on Jesus podcast is kind of like a runaway train, but we know where we're going
this time
today, do we not? We're like a laser focus. We have a very special guest with us, Adela. How are you, Adela?
I'm doing really good.
Excellent. Adela is a longtime member of our church, and we asked Adela in for a very specific purpose. Adela is going to share her story, and it's a story that is marked by many challenges, but ends with the story of redemption and the Lord really miraculously intervening and bringing you to a place of serious just health. Restoration's the best word, right?
Yeah.
I'll set the table a little bit, and then we'll start talking about Adela. Adela was trapped in a 21-year marriage. 24. Okay, yeah. I got it wrong. I thought I knew all the stories. 24 years marriage where she was abused very seriously, and it was something that throughout that whole time she was she was a member of two different churches, and the part of the reason we're doing this, we have a specific goal in talking to Adela, is we want to hear her story, and as we hear her story, we want everyone to be able to understand how to identify abuse, spousal abuse, and it can go both ways, men to women, women to men, so that people don't think just because we're in a church that this is impossible. And we also want to tell the story, or Adela wants to tell the story, so that where there are women or men who are in a situation like this, they can look to try to get help. Because one of the things I think is fair to say that when you're stuck in a situation like this, you feel trapped and lonely and you've got no way out.
Absolutely.
Is that fair to say?
That's one of the hardest things, the hidden nature of it. So just the hidden abuse really made it really difficult.
Yeah. So there's lots of different things we're going to unpack. But maybe why don't we start with just the beginning? When did you become a Christian? Just your upbringing, and then maybe start just with how you met your ex-husband and what that was like. All
right. Well, I became a Christian when I was 6 years old. I was raised by wonderful Christian parents who they had a great marriage, so that's what I'd been modeled, and they were missionaries on the Navajo Indian Reservation. And so I had a great
Did you live on the reservation as a kid? Where?
6 years. Window Rock, Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Or actually Sabanito, but you could walk to Window Rock. So.
Nice, okay.
Yeah. So you could walk from New Mexico to Arizona.
Yeah, it was Four Corners, right?
Not exactly
or
Four
I guess
Corners,
it was
but nearby.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm thinking, I don't know
You were just
geography.
A little kid.
I was just a little kid.
Somewhere up there.
Yeah.
So we moved to Mesa when I was 12, and my dad was an elder in a church all my life, and that's the people I knew. And so when I was in college, when I was 19 or 20, maybe 19, I met my ex-husband. I met him at my church. He wasn't going to that church. He was going to a different church, but he had relatives that went to that church, and he claimed Christianity. He was really kind and nice, and
there was nothing that you thought in first meeting him, like, I don't know if this guy's saved.
No, absolutely not. And also, I was a young Christian, been raised just around Christians, so I assumed if you said you were a Christian, you were. He knew a lot of theology.
Yep.
He attended church regularly. So there was no red flags that way. I knew his relatives, so he wasn't just a stranger.
Yeah.
His relatives said he was great, and they weren't trying to lie.
Sure.
They thought he was great. So,
yeah.
Really, I had no one saying, I don't think you should marry this guy. I mean, I did have one person, there was a 10-year age gap, so that was a concern to one person, but they got over it quickly. So I wasn't rebelling and marrying someone who's...
You were in community talking to other people. What do you think? All this, like, just you're trying to walk the road of wisdom here, and that's what you tried to do.
Yeah,
there, right?
I mean, obviously, going back, there was a lot of unwisdom. Like, I don't remember sitting down really and praying, should I marry this guy? It was just being young and
Sure.
not having that maturity in Christ that
Yeah, sure.
I have now, and would do things differently now. There were some red flags, but I couldn't really see them because I was a forgiving Christian. So when certain things happened or information I was given from him, I forgave him. And I assumed that as two Christians, we would be okay.
Yeah, which
So-
is the normal course of things, right? So one of the things we want to help everybody understand is that you're not saying, hey, if don't forgive people. It's be wise, right?
Right,
And so and some of the red flags were only clear in retrospect, right?
right, yeah.
And
Yeah.
right. So
Absolutely. I mean,
in
I
the
wasn't
engagement
sitting around
process.
thinking, should I really marry this guy or not? It wasn't like that. I
Yeah.
was in love with him, and
yep.
he was a Christian.
Yeah,
and
right.
As far as I knew.
Check the
So
boxes.
He checked the boxes. Those are the two boxes, right? when
Yeah,
you're
right.
young and
when you're young,
naive.
right? Yeah.
At that age, were you excited about getting married? Like, had you been dreaming about marriage leading
Oh,
up to that point?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I was very excited. It was just all very exciting. I loved him and was excited about being an honorable wife even. Like, I went in it with the intentions to be, and I think I fulfilled those of being an honorable wife. So
So you get married. What year was that, if we can ask?
that was 1995.
Okay.
was 4.
I turned 21 on our honeymoon, so I was
Oh,
young.
So you're young.
Yeah.
So 95, you get married, and you think, okay, here we are. Let's settle into life. Let's settle into husband and wife life and everything. What happened from there? Now, for folks listening, one of the things that is clear now for Adela that may not have been clear at the time is she's looking back over time to see some of the patterns that began to emerge early that ended up becoming life-altering and life-dominating patterns for him and life-altering patterns for you, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what were some of the first signs? Because a lot of people throw the word abuse around, so we'll talk about this later, but what were some of the signs that things you experienced in the beginning that became something more, or you're like, wow, this is not right?
Yeah. Well, I think it was really, I think things were not right from the beginning, but it was more just confusing.
Sure.
Because you're not expecting to walk into abuse
Exactly.
with a Christian man.
Right.
So, like, that category, I had been raised with amazing parents who had an amazing marriage. They had fights and stuff, but it was just a regular marriage, God-honoring marriage. And so it was surprising. But even on our honeymoon, driving away from the airport when we arrived in Denver, like, things weren't right already. So,
You can tell?
well, I couldn't tell I was being abused. Looking back now, I can tell.
What were some of the things that were
He was really frustrated because he didn't know how to get to the hotel. So it just wasn't, he couldn't deal with frustration in a normal way.
Gotcha.
So, but it's the day you got married, likely you would be dealing with it as
Like,
best as you could,
yeah, right,
right? Yeah.
Who cares? We're going to get to that.
I know, like,
yeah.
who cares that we might be lost for a few minutes or whatever. So, so that was disappointing already, off the bat. And, yeah, it was a disappointing honeymoon in many ways. Like, it's almost as if he obtained the prize. He got married, and he wasn't seeking that out. And I think he was maybe disillusioned. I mean, this is all going to come back, which I will talk about throughout this, is that it turns out he was highly addicted to pornography. So that affected.
You didn't know.
I didn't know, no. I knew that he had struggled with pornography in the past, which almost most men would have to say that, or maybe not struggled, but they that's
Exposed
not
to it or
a
whatever.
reason not to get married.
Correct. Yeah.
So I think that the honeymoon was disappointing to him because of his expectations of just marriage, and he thought, I believe, that it was going to solve all his problems as well. He thought that was going to solve his problems. So, but we go on with life, get back, and just weird things started happening. Like he wasn't connected to me very well. Like, he would go to change clothes in the other room, which was just really odd. Just some odd things like that. And so we did, at that point, have some marriage counseling with the person that had done pre-marriage counseling. And, I say, this is weird. Why are you doing this? Or he wouldn't let me vacuum when he was home, like starting some controlling things. So I did bring it up with our marriage counselor, and the guy basically said, you need to stop that. Like, you're one now. That's weird, and don't do that. And when did you vacuum before you got married? She can vacuum at different times. So just little things like that. But those are little, but
Those are small.
strange.
Yeah, right. Just odd.
Yeah,
Right,
odd. But his anger started getting, I was not around an angry father, so I was definitely taken aback by him he could get angry at just little things. And so, for instance, near the beginning of our marriage, he was very into sports. I hadn't grown up with that either, so that was an adjustment as it was. And there was a Saturday he wanted to watch sports all day. He didn't want to do anything but watch sports all day. And as a reasonable, hopefully, wife, but also like a new wife that's saying, hey, can we please not do this? Like, could you choose one of the games?
Sure.
I thought there's compromise in such things.
Sure.
But there was no compromise. He got so angry
Just at the suggestion.
that, I probably was more than a suggestion. I'm sure I was upset at that point because
Sure,
you're
but-
just trying to
yeah.
deal with
Yeah.
a new marriage and like, what? I'm asking
Expectations or
you
whatever.
not
Yeah, right.
to watch all day. Seemed really reasonable to me. And he got so angry that like veins were popping out of his head and spit was coming out of his mouth.
Yelling.
Yeah, and told me to get out of his life, but more colorfully. And
Like foul language.
yes,
Directed at you.
yeah. So I left that. I left and drove off weeping, and I ended up at a friend's house and, sharing that, and, a relative's house of his, actually, and, they're saying, sorry that this is happening, and they call him, he comes over and, apologizes, but it's just the start of that's how my life is going to become. So,
But you didn't know that then.
yeah.
Now, the pattern of anger, as we've talked, I think the pornography, the anger, those are the two things, right? The anger is like becomes a huge issue in the marriage, correct?
Yes.
Can you count how many times he screamed at you, like getting that kind of angry? Or was it just so often that it's impossible to count?
Yeah, he became an angry person or he was, but it became more
clear,
and more through the years, I'd say. So there's an element of being a frog in boiling water where it's not as bad at the beginning and it gets worse.
But it was a regular occurrence for him to yell at you,
Yes.
use foul language at you,
Yes.
and be just screaming at you.
Yes. Yes. And I remember somebody, I'm newly married and in the church parking lot, and people say this to newlyweds all the time. So how's married life? And like,
Yeah.
I don't even know how to respond to that. Like, because I'm already, married life is horrific.
Right.
But I'm also not going to gossip about my husband.
Right.
And I'm not going to say that to them. So,
Right.
but I'm also not a liar. So I like stood there not knowing what to say. A friend was with me who didn't know about the abuse, but just saw the uncomfortable situation and said, oh, married life after a while is just life, but she didn't follow up later like, well, why did you freeze like that? Like there wasn't that. You just go on with life. So, so not only yelling at you, but he would hit the walls, and there was many doors that were replaced because he punched through them. This is all before kids. So early on in our marriage, he took a gallon water bottle and threw it through the wall. And so he would just have outrages, which were not only frightening, but embarrassing. Like,
Sure.
it's just embarrassing to have someone treat you like that.
Yeah. Because it could make you believe the lie that's what you deserve.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And on
Or
top
that you've done something, right?
Yeah.
Cause it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, did you play, like, in your mind, were you thinking you played a part? Like, oh, if I was just a better wife, maybe he wouldn't get so angry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I thought it through exactly
Yeah.
like that, but I think internally,
I'm not saying that's true.
yeah.
Certainly not.
Yeah,
But yeah.
it's not true. I think it got into my psyche. He at the time we were married, I know that he believed I was overweight. I look back at those, and so I believed I was overweight. When I look back at those pictures now, I realize,
He said that to you?
yeah.
Oh, gosh.
So when I look back at those pictures, I was not overweight at all.
Yeah.
And so it does get into your psyche.
Yeah.
You believe what you're being told. And I wasn't adequate in his eyes because I was overweight. So, but I wasn't. I really wasn't. Like, when I look back, I'm like, oh, my word. Like, I wasn't.
Yeah.
But it gets into your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I would say that I didn't recognize a lot of that abuse, even though I feel stupid even saying that, but you're just trying to live day to day and get through a hard marriage. I just thought of it as a hard marriage, not as abuse.
How long into the marriage did you think this is going to be hard?
I'm not sure. I remember but there was also an inner part of me that did recognize the abuse, but I would have never worded it that way. But I remember a TV show coming on, and it was about a woman being abused, and I was so fascinated by it because I think I related to it. So, but my ex-spouse wouldn't let me watch it because I think he also recognized it.
Okay.
And that made him uncomfortable. So he didn't want me watching that. So those types of controls started coming up. But I would say then we had kids, and there was a season that when we first had kids that things got a little better. I think at least I felt better. Maybe I had something different to focus on. Yeah. But the focus was more on the kids instead of trying to deal with the marriage relationship. And so, I mean, it wasn't better in hindsight. Like, I thought, okay, we have a new baby. My husband will help get up during the night. After the first night asking him to get up with the baby, I quickly decided I would never do that again. I was going to get up with the baby because it wasn't worth the energy.
He would get mad?
It only happened once, but it just wasn't worth the energy. He was so irritated about being up and made it such a big deal that I get better sleep if I just got up myself. Mm-hmm. So I think he quickly was able to mold how I acted by getting angry at things. So
like, tease that out a little bit. Mold how you acted. What do you mean?
So, well, just like with that, like, I don't know that he was intentionally thinking this. I don't think he was smart enough to be intentionally thinking that. But, like, if I know that if I say this, he's going to get angry, I'm going to pretty soon stop saying that because it's not worth the anger. So I started definitely becoming a different person.
Okay.
My goal in life, I wouldn't have said this, but my goal in life came to help him not get angry, which is impossible, but you try to do it anyway. And so I tried to tiptoe around his triggers of getting angry, but I also, I think, Rich, you know me, like I also do push back too. So like there was that aspect of trying not to, but also pushing back, like this isn't the right thing. This isn't marriage. This isn't a Christian marriage, and especially the Christian part. Like you shouldn't be acting like this. Like so, trying to go back to the Word or encourage him with the Word that like let's not do this. This isn't okay. So kind of struggling with myself that way, where trying to fight for him to live up to his Christianity, but also trying to avoid anger. So, yeah.
Yeah, just kind of teasing out the patterns of anger that you expressed for your ex-spouse. Would you say his heart after those scenarios, was it repentant and apologetic, or was it just kind of pushed down under the rug, let's just carry on? Or was it like, or it could have even been a fake repentance? Was there an effort of like, did he acknowledge that he was doing something wrong, or that he maybe had a problem with this, or was it just like the norm?
There was some anger before marriage. He definitely showed a lot of repentance before marriage, for sure.
Before.
Yeah. Before marriage, there was.
So you saw the anger before?
I did see the anger before, which I'm also embarrassed about, because like I feel like I should have seen the red flags,
kid, right?
but I was 20.
Yeah, right.
What can you say?
Right.
And I was forgiving, which is great, because forgiveness is amazing. But I didn't see the difference between being forgiving and realizing these might be red flags that you might not want. You might want to forgive this guy, but not marry him.
Yeah, right.
Which is a great category to know about.
Yeah.
You can forgive and not marry. I think to answer your question, like there were times that he was repentant, but not to the extent that he was before we got married. And it really was more of a show. In the later years, when our kids were older, it was definitely a show. It would always be in front of them that he would apologize, or almost always. It was to be a show for them, or in front of others. Yeah, when we get to another part of the story, I can say something about that. But like, so there never seemed to be really heartfelt repentance for the most part. It depended on the individual case, whether it looked that way or not.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it was all one or all the other.
Yeah,
so it sounds like a mix.
Yeah,
lasts over time.
A mix and changed over time for sure.
Now, so one of the things that's hard to describe in these kind of situations, in your life situation that you lived, versus normal marriages. Like there are normal marriages where one of the two spouses struggle with anger, get angry, but then there's a situation you lived through. What's the difference between normal and what you lived through?
And I think this is such a key question because it's really complicated to answer that.
It is.
And that's where it causes so much confusion. And that's where it also makes it difficult to get help, because you tell one story. And almost any one of these stories can just be a normal thing that happened a time in a marriage.
Right.
And so you tell one story, and the feedback you get is, oh, yeah, I'm so sorry that happened. That happened to me too. Or, yeah, let's forgive. And nobody is at that point thinking you're in an abusive marriage and that they need to ask more questions. And so it starts on psychologically to affect you that, okay, all these things are normal because you're not sharing how often they're happening. And so a friend of mine said, that's also an abusive marriage, she said, to explain it, like, because if you tell that one incident, people say, oh yeah, you can get through that. Like, that's not a big deal in a way, But it's like holding a glass of water, that's not hard to do, to hold a glass of water. But when you're holding a glass of water for hours or years or months, days and years, 24 years, this is exhausting.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's the difficulty of getting help is the individual stories aren't necessarily dramatic.
Yeah, because the individual stories sound like normal marriage challenges.
Yeah.
Normal anger, normal
Yeah.
repentance.
But would you say that one of the primary differences, if not the primary difference, is how often it happens?
Yeah. I think that would be one of the primary things is just how often it happens and that it changes because it's happening all the time. It changes who you are even.
Because you're trying to do whatever you can for him not to get angry.
Exactly.
And so you're not free just to be Adela.
Yeah.
You're Adela who's trying to assuage so-and-so.
Yeah.
Correct?
Right. And so even the story where his veins are popping out and he's swearing at me, that can happen in a normal marriage.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
But
It shouldn't. We're not
it
condoning
shouldn't.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it can.
Sure.
And
that's that experience by definition is not abuse.
right. I mean, it's abusive.
It's
but
abusive,
it's
but
not.
Yeah.
You're not in an abusive marriage. Per
Not
se.
necessarily. It's not,
Not
like
necessarily,
That's
yeah.
not the litmus test. But if that happens thousands of times,
Yeah.
like hundreds of times with you,
Yeah.
then that's different, isn't it?
Yeah. And then there's just so many different aspects to what was going on is I wasn't allowed, even that phrase, I wasn't allowed to do a lot of things. So I wasn't, eventually, there was a time I wanted to go to small group, but we had just had a fight. And he's like, okay, we'll go to small group, but if you cry, I cannot handle it. So we're not going to go if you're going to cry. So, you're not allowed to cry because that's going to come out bad on him. So, it gets into this weird, horrible dance where you're told what to do and,
What you can and can't do.
what you can and can't do. Yeah.
So it's like an element of control.
Oh,
on top of that.
absolutely.
And
There's
would you say that element of control was just to hide the anger that was happening behind closed doors, or at least wasn't being told to the people around you?
that was part of it for
Yeah.
sure. There was also elements of control in all sorts of different things, because he would stay up late at night playing video games, and I wasn't supposed to get upset that he would never come to bed with me, so there was just control of our whole life that it was just centering around him. He wanted life to center around him. But I say there was a turning point that happened, and you're not going to understand this because you're too young, okay? But there was a turning point that happened where we hadn't had the internet, and he didn't have internet access at work. That really was a thing, And
Yeah, right, exactly. We remember that.
I do.
I thought you were talking to me. For those of you listening on, and not watching, when she said you're too young, she wasn't talking to me. She was talking to Mark.
I thought you were just absorbing a
Oh,
compliment.
I was just like, okay.
I'm at the
What are
age
you
where
gonna
half my life was internet, half no internet.
Okay.
Yeah, anyways.
Well, you seem
carry on.
younger than that.
I'm 33.
Okay. Well, around 1999, he got, instead of just intranet, he got internet at work. And that took the pornography to a different level. Before that, I only knew about him getting into pornography a few times, and it was devastating, but we made it through. But then around that time, and I'm not sure exactly when, because he lied a lot. So I don't know when he finally broke down and told me that he was struggling with looking at pornography at work. Well, that was so devastating to me, and he was laying on the ground, and he did seem repentant in this instance. He was laying on the ground saying, "I don't think I can stop." And I'm a young wife. I have 2 kids at this point, and I'm like, "Well, you have to." Like, what do you mean you can't stop? You've got to. Like, it was so devastating to me. And he agreed to go get help. And so we started some marriage counseling. But it's just a big shift because the pornography was so painful to me and so centered even on I'm pretty sure a lot of his anger came from that. He had an anger issue anyway, but like he felt bad about himself. So it just, and lies came from that. It was so tied up with that I thought our main marriage problem was a pornography problem. Yeah. And I didn't even realize, like, you've got way more of a problem than a pornography problem, though his was extreme.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Yeah.
And that was a shift.
That was a shift, yeah.
And so things that were bad before got worse.
Got worse, but I saw them as a pornography problem.
Okay. That was the lens you saw everything
Yeah.
through. Right. Yeah.
And so I was trying to keep him from getting angry. I was trying to keep him from getting into pornography. As you can see, this is all me, and you can't change other people. So, like, it was futile, but that became my life. And then I was a stay-at-home mom, so there was that aspect of it too, in that I had no income of my own, so like there's an aspect where it's hard to even get help, but also he wasn't helping out at home in a regular way. So like I was trying to raise my kids, I'm trying to keep the house going and just the mental load going. Like I had to keep track of everything that needed to get done, kids' doctor's appointments and stuff. There was no sharing of the mental load. And I also, like, if something came up, he didn't give me the allowance to talk about, like, he couldn't handle any criticism against him. And so almost all times when I would bring up something, it would end with him being angry. So I still, through the 24 years, brought things up, but I almost always regretted it and looked down on myself like, why are you so stupid that you tried again? Because now you're weeping and your husband has left during the middle of the night. He would just leave during the middle of the night when he would get angry. And here you are. And you're kind of stupid for bringing it up. So.
But you were trying to act like a Christian acts.
Yeah.
Right? And just like if you have something against your brother or sister, you go to him.
Right.
And so each time it doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember, was there any time it worked? Like with lasting fruit?
Not with lasting fruit, for sure.
So that's a difference too, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that's important here is to realize that when we talk about these sins, we're talking about life-dominating sins.
Yes.
Your ex-husband had a life-dominating sin of being addicted to pornography, of being an angry person, of being a controlling person, right? So it's one thing to fight against those things. It's another thing to be given over to those things completely, and over time, that's what you saw, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But he also, one of things he loved was maintaining an appearance of righteousness. So other people weren't.
Hold on. I want to hold on to that.
Okay.
I want to hold on to the next part for
Okay.
church. Because now, so the next part of the interview, which maybe we'll go ahead and we'll take a break here in just a second. I want to talk about what it was like at church, what he projected, what people thought, and then begin to unpack some of the help some of the things that happened that unmasked everything, and then, how you got help. Okay?
All right, sounds good.
All right. If you have questions or anything about this or any other episode we have on our podcast, where should they email, Mark?
production@centergilbert.com. And yeah, we look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Now, and one thing that everybody should know is Adela will, like, if you're someone who's come out of an abusive marriage or are interested in talking to her, that's something Adela has done in the past, and it's one of the things that, as we've talked over the years, that we feel like the Lord has really equipped her to be able to do. So that's one thing that I'd encourage you to continue to listen to this series here and finish hearing these interview segments. But if you're interested in reaching out and talking to her and you don't maybe know her, you can email us at production@centergilbert.com, and we'll make sure to get her in contact with you.
For sure.
So, all right. Thank you, everybody.